And we ended up picking up some random guys in the market, and they showed me where the house was, and we got there. And I went there the next day. I asked her, I was like, can I come to your house tomorrow and after work and start maybe teaching you more about Jesus? And she said yes. And so went there, and I normally when I go, the dad's not around. But this time I went and the dad was there, and I remembered what she had said about not telling him. So I was kind of, oh great, how's this gonna go? But the family just welcomed me. They were so excited. I don't think they believed I was gonna go. And there's and white people, the foreigners, typically, they don't go to this village on a regular basis. And so everyone was surprised to see me there, and they just welcomed me. They gave me food. We sat and we talked, and it was just such a sweet, loving family. And it was great just sitting and talking with them. And so finally, I asked the mom, I said, is it okay to show this movie that I told you about? And she said, yes, it's okay. Oh, and I forgot to say, whenever she was also in the hospital, mom can't read, but Sijapata can a little bit. And so somebody had given me another teammate had given me these Bibles, and they're basically they're written as a comic book, and it's easy for children to read. And so I gave it to Sijapata to read to her mom, and so that'll come into play later. But so she had at least a form of the Bible with her. And so I started playing the video, and everyone just gathered around and was super interested. It goes from basically Genesis all the way to when Jesus was back. And they had, they showed like a caterpillar during creation, and they were like, oh, it itches, and they saw the giraffe, and oh, twigga, and they're so excited at seeing the video. And we only watched about 40 minutes of it, and everybody was, most of them didn't want me to shut it off, but some of the babies were getting tired, so we went on ahead and cut it off for the day. And I asked if I could come back, and they were like, absolutely, come back, we want to watch more. And so I came back right before I had to leave Tanzania to come back to the States, and I played it again. And this time it got more into Jesus. And there was one other guy that was actually there, the neighbors, because everyone crowds around. They see the TV, they're so excited. In fact, I have a picture. And that's everyone crowded around, and one of the guys is looking, and he's like, Wayahudi says Jews, and Yesu, Jesus. And he kind of walks off. But the dad, this is the dad, and he's just glued. And he's got, it's talking more and getting more into Abraham and Isaac and the sacrifice, which is a big deal because they believe that Abraham sacrificed Ishmael instead of Isaac. They have a holiday for it. And so I was anxious to see how things were going to play out. Usually I have a Tanzanian teammate that Mary who goes with me, but she was busy and I knew I needed to go that day, and so maybe the last time it was. So we went, and I was kind of cautiously watching the situation, and at the end, after watching some more of it, watched another 40 minutes or so, the dad just had so many questions, and good questions, and he's like, this movie is so good, and that book that you gave Sisha Bata is so good. And I looked at him and asked him if he wanted an adult version of the book, and he said, absolutely. So I gave him a Bible, I turned to Mark, and I showed him, he just started reading, and he's like, oh, this is so good. And he's just a hair away from coming to Christ. He's still not there, but he's just very interested in learning more. And I had my teammate, and I know our Tanzanian teammate went and visited him at least once since I've been gone. They live far out, so it's difficult for them to get there. But just please be praying for this family, because their mom's a believer, but the rest of the family is close. And even after we were finished, she turned to his family and he said, do you have questions? And I was really surprised by that he even invited his family to be involved in this and was okay with learning more about Christianity. So yeah, that's my story for him. I just have a few more pictures that I'll share. Every year, we have a group that does a mobile clinic. And from that, often we try to start a Bible study, and the ultimate plan is to start a church in some of these villages. So that was ours right before COVID. Just some pictures of the team. And this is a Bible study we started from another mobile clinic that we had out in the village called Rutimba. I think they have one church out there, but it's not solid. And it's in an area where the Muslims are trying to build a mosque every 5 kilometers. And so it's a very strong Muslim area. But I do it with this man and his wife. His name is Onesimus, and he was a former Muslim. Actually, his dad was a witch doctor who's now a believer, and he was in line to become the next local witch doctor. But now he's on fire for Christ, and he and his wife are just amazing teammates that have come alongside us. And I could not do this Bible study without him. And over there is Mama Stella, and she was a believer before, but now she's just really started to grow in her walk with Christ, and has been really excited to be at Bible study. And so, if Mama Stella's not there, then I'm like, oh, okay, what's happened? Because she's always there. She's amazing. And this is a church that they've planted from a mobile clinic out in the village. It was 100% Muslim, and is now a family came to Christ. And so now they've grown into a very small church, but it's still it's doing well. And right here is Hamisi. He's one of our newest teammates. He was the one that had to go because he thought his back was broken and needed medical care. But he was actually on his way to Saudi Arabia to learn how to persecute the church. And he overheard our teammates who were out doing the hospice buckets. He overheard them sharing the gospel and became a believer. And despite he was even receiving death threats right after. And he just stood up in church and he said, I have hope. I have hope. And I can't turn back. I've got to stand. And he has been so amazing. This smile is what you always see that on his face. That is amazing. And just loves the Lord and has a heart for the lost. And that was one of my first funerals that I went to. That is Mary in the purple, and she has been just a godsend. Just a huge blessing in my life. She goes with me a lot of times when I go out to homes. And Anna, who's also a very sweet girl that lives with Mary. And I think, we do have zebras. We don't have a lot of animals, but we do have zebras that wander around. I think it's just somebody brought them in. But it's not like we have lions walking around everywhere. They're not in one of those cool places. Again, just the lake. Christmas time, we were able to, I had one is the daughter of one of my teammates, and she brought a friend. We went early in the morning and rounded all the patients and shared the Christmas story. And then we brought cake. And so everybody loves cake. And so that we had like a little charade or a little party there over Christmas time, and just some more pictures of Pijama. It's a beautiful, beautiful area. And they have something called a send-off, which is just a party that they have before the wedding, and that was one of my friends who invited me to it, and they gave me lots of food. Lots of rice. And so it's like, so we have monkeys, and that's another picture of our Rutimba Bible study, and the lake, which we go kayaking on, and just some precious kids. And yes, you never know what things you're going to find on the we call them baby booties, the motorcycles. I've seen this actually several times. I've also seen 3 people and 2 sheep. I didn't get a picture, it wasn't fast enough, but that was pretty amazing. So the church plant over in the village that was 100% Muslim, they do have outreach to the widows and orphans, and they go out and provide them with food every month. And that's one of my other sweet friends. So that's kind of what we do. And as far as your giving, one of the main things that I've been doing is it's helped me provide medications for kids. It is very difficult. The average number of pregnancies in our area is 8, and it's average. So some people even have more. And so people have a lot of kids, and it's very difficult, A, for them to be in the hospital for a long time, and B, to buy the medicines. Especially for our chronic patients that need medicines every day. We have patients like with seizures or seizure disorders or something called sickle cell anemia, and they just need medicines every day. And the families can't afford that. And most very few can. And so your funds have actually been able to provide medicines. In fact, there was one lady who was out, her daughter had meningitis and actually lost her hearing from it. But she would have died without medication. The mom could not afford it. She was actually from the village that CJ got to is from. There was no way. And at the end, she told me, she's like, we would not have been able to be here. She would not have been able to survive if we would not have given us this medicine. And I tell them, no, it's from people who have been living and have a heart for the lost here and have a heart that is really sick and need help. And so that has been a huge blessing. Also, the medicines actually from our standard are quite cheap. Generally, there's a couple expensive ones, but generally it's pretty cheap. So I've been saving up, and at this point I have enough to be able to buy an ultrasound machine because y'all are just that generous. And I have, so that's something that I'm looking into getting to be able to bring back with me. And there's still some things up in the air as far as how that's going to work, but that is something, and that we don't have MRIs or CT scans or anything like that where we're at. So ultrasounds are incredibly useful. I'm learning how to do them because that's not something I was trained in, but that's something that I've been doing as I've been home and going to continue to learn more how to use it. But that opens doors more to share the gospel because, I mean, there's so many things, there's no way to diagnose. We have very little testing, we have very little options, but we can diagnose, and if we've diagnosed cancer, we've diagnosed heart disease, that children with problems with the heart that they're born with. We've been able to diagnose problems like tuberculosis that sometimes you can get in your belly and things like that. It's just been incredibly helpful, and and those conversations have led, being able to do that and to provide quality care has opened up doors to sharing the gospel. So that is one thing that I've been, that I have an idea to use your funds with. So thank you guys. Y'all have been, like I said, y'all have been just incredibly generous and so helpful that way. So that would not be an option. That would not have been for you guys. So thank y'all. And I just want to end with giving you some things to pray for. And because again, y'all's prayers and encouragement have just been so special. And so right now, just some specific things is the persecuted, those who are being persecuted. As I've shared, that's a big issue. And so just please be praying for them. Be praying for that the church would rise up and be their new family. And it's a little difficult because it's countercultural. In fact, some of our teammates have been told by leaders in the church, don't share with Muslims, it's dangerous. And they're like, oh, we're going to share. These are Tanzanians, they know the risk, but they're going to do it anyway. Because that's what we're called to do. And so sometimes it's difficult to get the church to be there for these new believers. And there are many that are, but it needs to be more of something, a focus on our area and something that we're working on, and our teammates have been working on teaching as well. So our Tanzania teammates. So just be praying for that, for that they would be able to receive support, and that God would just provide for their needs. It's just such a difficult situation for them. And please also be praying for the COVID situation there. It's a long story, but it's bad. It's the rate of infection and people suffering there is really high right now. And so we're kind of seeing it here in the States going down, and it's exciting, but there it's actually the opposite. It's worse than it's ever been. So please be praying for the health of our Tanzanian friends, and especially for those that are going out and continuing on to work while we're here in the States. Please be praying that for health and for endurance and for wisdom, and they will continue to grow in their faith as well. The other big issue is visas and work permits. So we have all except one couple that are on the team in Kedoma are trying to go through the process of getting work permits. Every 2 years you have to renew it. And it's becoming increasingly more difficult. We have several people in language school right now, and they were all denied. And so we had to appeal it. We do a process and we appeal it, and one of the appeals was denied. So we're kind of working with lawyers. Our team leader's been working with lawyers, and our logistics people have been amazing. And so we're looking for ways to get back in there, but nothing is certain. It really is anything right now. So it's a process. So be praying that God would open up doors for us to return. So He is sovereign, and that's a beautiful thing. And He's over government and over all of these issues. And so, but just be praying, especially for those in language school. It's been a challenging thing. They're learning the language. They've been working for so long to get to where they're at. And so just be praying that the Lord will just comfort them and just provide in this area. So anyway, that's all I've got for y'all. I'm really so thrilled to be here and just to finally see y'all and meet you guys. So y'all have been so sweet this morning, and I'd just like to end just by praying for Corinth Baptist. Dear Lord, thank you so much for this beautiful day. It's sunshiny and just such a blessing to be able to be here in church and just worship together. I just thank you so much for this church. It has such an amazing history and in planting other churches, and it's been around since 1850s. That's amazing. And just how you provided for this church and how I can't even imagine all the many ways that you use them over the years. And I just pray that you would continue to use them for your glory. Thank you. Lord, just bless them and their service for you. And I just thank you for their generosity and for their love and their support, God. And I just pray that you would just provide for them and continue to be with Pastor Dan and his family as he continues to lead the church. In your precious son's name, amen.
All right, so Meggie, what I want you to do, not sit down. Take your microphone off. Take it out of your purse. Take it off. We're all watching you. Put your mask on. I'm telling a doctor to put the mask on. Now I want you to walk over to that door. Walk over to that door. There's nothing behind it.
I wouldn't bet on that.
And then when we dismiss, what I want you to do is walk out to the sycamore tree so you can greet her out there, okay?
Oh, I forgot.
What did you forget?
I have a notebook. If anyone wants my newsletter that I send out, I send out my email address. Can I grab it?
Where's the, yes, grab your notebook.
Okay.
Let me get a jacket.
Yeah, take your sweater off,
Yes.
doctor.
He's classy.
No. She's like my daughter,
Oh.
so I have to give directions. Now, we've been talking about it. If you would like to give something extra to Meggie, Sammy has an offering plate. There's a regular offering plate over there on the sound booth. If you just like to give something extra to Meggie, that's fine. If you don't, that's okay. But I just want to give you an opportunity. If you'd like to give, you heard that she's looking for an ultrasound machine. Now maybe I'll put that on your Christmas list. I like an ultrasound machine. But, if you don't think about it, the medicine that we have here, it's a lot. But when you get out to places like that, I was dangerous in places because I had a book that said, called Where There Is No Doctor. And they said, oh, you have that book. You have Band-Aids. You have ibuprofen. You're a doctor. And Pam would always say, oh, if it involves blood, you got this. And I did deal with some things. Anyway, so if you'd like to give, Sammy's got one of the regular offering plates, one over there by Lindsay. And if you would just stand up, and Maggie's going to be out by the tree, sycamore tree. If you'd like to talk with her, Sue, please make sure you talk to her. She wants to meet you. She was so glad to fly in instead of drive. Anyway, and Joe. Joe wants to meet you too. All right, thank you for being here. Back rows, leave first. Men's breakfast tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Matt?